You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down.
Ace,
you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
Hey guys, Jeffrey O'Brien here. Did you know Harman Solar has gone super high tech? There's an amazing tool at harmansolar.com that'll give you an instant ballpark solar estimate using satellites from space. You just type in a little information, and within seconds, you'll have an idea of just how little money it takes to save big on that monthly electric bill. I did it, and within seconds, they measured my roof and calculated my savings. It's very impressive. Go to harmansolar.com and give it a try yourself. That's harmansolar.com.
Sports betting apps are not created equal. Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here to talk about the Sport Trade advantage. With higher payouts, Sport Trade is the ultimate sports betting experience. Sport Trade is the first sports betting app that gives you the option to see the odds expressed as probabilities, and it's changing in-game betting forever. If it's easier to understand 52% probability of winning versus minus 108 odds, then Sport Trade is for you. With this percent odds feature, cashing out now makes much more sense. As the win probability changes, so does the value of your bet. And if you're an experienced bettor and prefer American odds, you'll get pricing closer to minus 106 versus the normal minus 110, coupled with instant in-play betting. No more spinny wheels. So download Sport Trade today to see the difference and beat the book. Use promo code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet you place in your first week. Terms apply.
Sport Trade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
My pain is considerable, but that prescription is dangerous. The side effects of my medicine are worse than my condition.
I'm in recovery. I can't take those pills.
When faced with a health crisis, you shouldn't have to choose between risks.
At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our medical doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. Our naturopathic doctors can restore pain-free joint function and restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves immediate physical symptoms without having you take a bunch of pills. If traditional medicines aren't working, don't you think it's time to start feeling like yourself again? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And welcome back to another day of Beat the Book. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me is our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. You're listening to 1580 The Fanatic, though you somehow didn't know that already. But if you got here accidentally, we're broadcasting live from the Harman Solar Studios in sunny uptown Scottsdale. And today on the show, hoops. So much hoops. College basketball all up and down the first segment. NBA in segment number 2. We're going to get to Warriors and Celtics. We'll talk a little other NBA. And then, of course, we'll get to the Suns and the Heat to wind down the show. Picks today, props to bet. You know the deal. You're on the text line, by the way, 888-368-1580. And you join us. Tell us about your bets. What happened to you yesterday? Did you make some money? Did you lose some money? We'll commiserate with you. Did your teams win? Did your teams lose? You know we love to hear that stuff and talk about it with you. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
We are sponsored by Sport Trade, and make sure you join us this coming Friday. Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane will be back on the show to help roll out the next weekly Sport Trade contest for the $100 Amazon gift card and $50 in cash sent directly to your Sport Trade account for you to make some wagers with. So if you haven't already, make sure you download Sport Trade on your smartphone, get your account set up, use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion for the new account sign up. And Keon, as you mentioned, we've got a bit of college basketball to talk about. Didn't have a whole lot of that going on yesterday. NBA takes the day off now for election day. So just a slower day in sports, but luckily that is not the case for tonight. NBA's got a huge slate, 12 games going on today. There's a lot more college basketball going on. So this is just that time of year for basketball in particular. But obviously, we've got more football right around the corner. There's going to be another Thursday night football game here on 1580 The Fanatic. So that will be a big topic of tomorrow's show. But for today, we do need to focus on, the things that are relevant to us here in Phoenix, Arizona. And one of those things that's pretty relevant to us is our Arizona State Sun Devils. They did play last night for college basketball. They were taking on Idaho State in their home opener. And I'm hoping we don't get too many, commiserating texts because, if you were like me and you were hopeful about your ASU Sun Devils, particularly this really high-ranked recruiting class that Bobby Hurley managed to bring in, then you were looking at that 17.5-point spread yesterday, and you were probably trying to do whatever research you could do on who plays for Idaho State and how good they might be.
Yeah, the Idaho State Bengals, which I just discovered. I was today years old when I discovered that they were called the Bengals because there's no association between that animal and Idaho State.
Well, and honestly, I was trying to do some research on them yesterday, and this time of year, unless this is a team that just has serious continuity and they're bringing back a majority of the pieces that got them very far the year before, it is so difficult to try and project where these kids, quite frankly, are what they're going to do on the court. And especially in a landscape now where, there's NIL, there's so much transferring and having to work the transfer portal, all of these Division I college basketball programs, they've turned into revolving doors where it's very rare now to see a school keep a group of guys together. There's just so many outside forces drawing, people, one way or another. And in my research of Idaho State, I guess they brought in a new coach. The coach was with a couple of other smaller schools leading up to that, and he managed to bring his star player. I think he started at Montana State, brought him over to the next place. Then he brought him over to Idaho State. And this player, he was getting over $2 million in NIL to play at Idaho State. It's their center.
That's insane. Yeah.
I mean, that is the day and age that we live in now for college basketball, where you can be the star player on Idaho State. And that's how lucrative of an opportunity that could be. So, I mean, the loyalty just goes out the window. Why would you be the guy? Why would you be the fifth guy, at Ohio State when you could go to
you could be
Idaho
the
State
guy at Idaho State and get paid
big money too.
Yeah.
So, very bizarre territory to try and navigate here. And, this is one of the reasons why you see all these, big names, particularly in coaching, these brand names, the Coach K's of the world. They drop out because this is just not the college basketball that they, grew up with, that they were brought into and developed with. And it's just kind of morphed into something different altogether.
Yeah, and because I remember growing up, when you talk about who's in charge of a college athletic program, usually it's the coach. The coach just, if you're the basketball coach, you run the basketball program top to bottom. There's not a whole lot that happens in there that you don't know. But the schools aren't allowed to pay players. The NIL collectives are. And there are some coaches, because of the setup of the program that they're around, they've been able to sort of take control of that and direct the collectives where they want to go. You can hear it in press conferences with Kenny Dillingham, for instance. He's trying to take control of that collective and say, hey, I'm the person that's ultimately deciding things around here. But there are lots of programs in this country where the coach is actually second. The collective is the one that's doing a lot of the decision making. They're the ones that wear the pants in the relationship, and you can tell it shows. And I can't imagine at a program like Idaho State where you've got a player who's making $2 million in a year, that the collective isn't really in charge there, or at least the coach isn't at least hand in hand with an NIL collective that's doing that. They have a lot of influence, and it just has changed the landscape of everything.
So, going back to the actual game itself between ASU and Idaho State, the line prior to tip-off was 17.5, 18 points, kind of varied based on the book. But, the sentiment going in was that, ASU is going to crush these guys. And that's not quite what happened.
On paper, probably. You don't play games on paper, though. You play them on the basketball court. And in reality, there were some struggles.
There were some struggles. And this is so common in the first couple of weeks, within college basketball. This isn't something that's exclusive to ASU. It's, very normal to see teams, regardless of if they're ranked or not, they do tend to struggle in that opening matchup against, such a smaller school. So in this case, ASU wins by 7. They do not get anywhere near covering that 17-point spread. And you look at the play on the court, you're trying to kind of figure out, how is this season going to play out for these guys? The big draw for ASU with this recruiting class, it was 2 players. You have Jaden Quintance, who is a dynamic center, one of the best big men that Bobby Hurley has ever been able to recruit to the program. Only thing with Jaden is he is a bit young. He's very raw right now. He's only 17 years old. He made it into college a bit early. So as you can imagine, playing against guys that are, much older than him at this point, that have been able to grow into their bodies a bit more, Jaden's going to struggle a little bit out the gate. And last night, 0 for 6 on field goals in 19 minutes, finished with 2 points, did manage to get 6 blocks and 2 steals. So, if you're going to show us anything right now, showing us some good defense up front, that was pretty encouraging to see.
Yeah, he was hustling out there. And also, the 2 points came from attacking the basket because he was 0 for 6, but he was able to get to the free throw line. So there's something there. He's just so young, and he does look a little scrawny out there sometimes. And you're obviously going to see that improve over the course of the season, but it is something that you kind of raise an eyebrow and go, man, I really hoped he could have hit the ground running. Kind of like you said, 17 years old, kind of not his fault, but he is going to have to play a lot of catch up if he's going to continue to be a starter and maybe be a contributing factor on this team, which is what he was recruited to be.
Well, and the Big 12 in general is a conference that is just not short on, imposing, talented, dynamic big men. So, he's going to learn pretty quickly as he plays some of these other teams within the conference. But the other recruit that, and this is one that I'm pretty excited just to see how he, develops with Bobby Hurley, but that would be Jason Sanin. And Jason was actually committed to U of A. He was going to be the successor to Caleb Love. And then Caleb Love decided not to leave. And you know what? Understandably, if you're the best guy in Idaho State making $2 million NIL,
then
what is Caleb Love getting at U of A?
Probably an ungodly amount of money. You'd have to imagine.
So I can't totally knock him for that. Obviously, him returning to U of A shook up the dynamic a bit, and U of A ended up losing Sanin, and he flipped his commitment over to ASU. And being able to step into a role as a starting guard in his first college game ever. He was 3rd on the team in scoring last night, had 11 points in 30 minutes, shot 40% from 3. Very encouraging game. Hopefully, he continues to build on that performance. Being a freshman point guard and being able to play under Bobby Hurley, we've seen guards come through this program and go on to have success, whether that's within the NBA, whether that's transferring to a new school. I'm thinking of, Remy Martin comes to mind, transferred over to Kansas, won a national title with them. Josh Christopher is another guy that went through the program, and now he's starting to show, a lot of potential within the NBA. Sanin could be another player in that line of talented ASU guards that Hurley's been able to bring in through the program.
Yeah, and because I don't think that with Bobby Hurley, his weakness is getting the talent. I think that he's at least shown that. I'm assuming that's the reason why for the years where ASU hoped that they would do more and could do more, and they've fallen short of those expectations. I think that's why he's gotten the length of leash that he has, is because he does find the talent. It's now getting the most out of it, maximizing that talent. That's going to be the challenge for Bobby Hurley. And last night didn't look great, but like you said, still early days in this college basketball season.
So a lot of things can change there. Overall, Keon, just kind of general hopes, fears for the ASU basketball program this year. My hope for them is, maybe just once Bobby Hurley can just do a little bit better than, the bubble and being like a, first four in or last four, however, that they've been falling. I mean, what is it? It's been like 2 or 3 years now consecutively where ASU gets into that play-in game, and that's just kind of where they fall. There's, never any shot of them just getting an at-large bid, above that, or they haven't been able to make any runs within the Pac-12 tournament to get, a better spot than, where they've fallen. Were you able to find anything on that?
So Bobby Hurley, ASU, they didn't make the tournament last year. They did make it the year before, but again, not the best run of it. 23-13 though. They just had a disappointing exit from the tournament, if I remember that correctly. And then 3 years of not making it before that. And then they made it a couple of years back in 2017 and 2018. Those are the 2 years where they made it. So he's had more years where they didn't make the tournament than years where they did. And it's more than half. It's a lot of them. So I think that this is a make or break year for Bobby Hurley. And I'm with you as far as the hopes go. I hope that he is able to actually get this team to play at the level that their talent suggests that they should. Because if they do that, they're going to be a team that doesn't have to battle and scratch and scrap their way into an NCAA tournament. That's the hope there, because you're playing in a conference of basketball where it is actually quite forgiving because of how tough it is. So if you're able to win some big games, win some marquee matchups, handle your business against teams like Idaho State, maybe beat them better than that. That's going to help you get in. I really hope for that for ASU, but I also just specifically kind of hope for Jaden Quaintance to kind of find his footing, because I think that he can be a very exciting, dynamic player. He's clearly a great athlete. He's clearly somebody who wants to go out there and try. He's not, a guy that's kind of he's all dialed into offense and then defense he falls asleep or whatever. No, Jaden Quaintance goes out there and he plays. Bobby Hurley has recruited guys in the past who have not had that attitude. So I really hope that the reward there for being able to and having the desire to play hard on both ends of the floor, that kind of fits what Bobby Hurley wants to do personality wise, and as far as the foundation of the program. I hope that he's able to get that, because I just think the talent is there.
Well, and with that being said, a couple things to keep in mind, and this is where, the fears part of this comes in. The Big 12 doesn't have 12 teams. It's got 16 teams, of course.
And a lot of them are real good at basketball.
This is certainly, in my opinion, the best basketball conference in the nation.
Hands down.
6 teams came in the top 25 before the season started. That's obviously going to shift a little bit, of course. But you look at a team like UCF, who was unranked, and they just upset Texas A&M, who I believe they were top 15 ranked. So even these schools that are in the Big 12 that came in without an initial ranking, they're still proving to be very good schools. And this may be a conference where you just see a bunch of these schools kind of beat up on each other. And my fear is that ASU may not necessarily be able to keep up with that kind of rate of beating up on each other. They just might turn into the punching bag.
Especially if you start slow, which the last night I think is about as slow a start as you could have. It's a good thing they won the game, because you look at the Big 12 standings, and I understand that everybody's played a game, so it's, again, way too early, but everybody won except Baylor. And I don't think that Baylor's going to lose very many games after this. Look, it's just there's so much talent all across this conference. Cincinnati's really good. Houston's really good. Arizona, obviously, very, very good. You're talking about Kansas, obviously, perennially there. Iowa State is going to be bringing back a good team. Colorado, this is a conference that, as far as basketball goes, like when you look at college football in the SEC and you just see like really good teams just cannibalize each other out of having a spot at playing in the playoff, that's what's going to happen in the Big 12 to a degree. And if you can end up in the upper half of that, you'll have a strong case. But can ASU do it? I think they have to start quickly this season, or things might get rough.
You know, one thing that we certainly have to bring up on this show, because this station, 1580 The Fanatic, is the flagship station for Grand Canyon men's basketball. You know, we air all of those games here on 1580 The Fanatic. We are the Lopes official station. And, you know, anyone that's paid close attention to college basketball over the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, you've seen the trajectory of the Lopes program. You've seen the way that they have ascended. All of that, you know, capped off by the run in March Madness last year. They did manage to get their first win in March Madness, which was extremely exciting to see. That was against St. Mary's. And now this will be their final season in the WAC. And it turns out that they have a game against ASU. It is going to be a week from tomorrow, November 14th. This is technically going to be a neutral site. It's at the Footprint Center. But, you know, between these two schools, they have played one game at each university over the last, this would be 4 years. The first game was in 2020. The next game was in 2021. They haven't played each other since. Both of those two games that played out before, very, very close. Normally that would not be relevant at all because we're talking 4+ years ago and it's like a different group of guys completely. Fine. But it just kind of, you can't not mention the fact that GCU, they're getting much, much better. They've kept much of their same team that made that run last year together for this year. They have the continuity going for them. They have a very nice blend of just upperclassmen, you know, with some good younger talent mixed in, which is typically what you need to see out of a college basketball team that's going to be competitive, that's going to be highly ranked. That may be something that ASU struggles with. But, you know, we don't necessarily have odds out on this game yet. They'll be coming out within, you know, the next week or so. I have to imagine GCU is going to be projected initially as the underdog, and that will be a betting opportunity. GCU looked great in their first game. Who was that player that they brought in? The
Jacoby Coles was the guy they brought in. I think they brought in somebody else too, whose name is escaping me off the top of my head. But yeah, Jacoby Coles was probably the big acquisition. He's a sharpshooter. He's an incredible athlete, and he played Big 12 basketball. So this is not somebody who is unfamiliar with going up against bigger programs. He's not going to feel any pressure going up against ASU the way that I think some GCU players, talented as they have been, may have felt in the past.
Well, and GCU for years, you know, felt kind of slighted within this matchup because Michael Crow, for the longest time, wouldn't even let these schools play each other. And then, God forbid, ASU has to risk the embarrassment of potentially losing to GCU. That was something else that kind of played into it, besides Crow's politics of, you know, GCU being a for-profit school, you know, and that's kind of getting into a whole other issue. But when you look at these two teams and these games that they played before, it's a really interesting dynamic, because even with the game being at Footprint Center, it's not going to be much of a neutral site. The GCU fans are much more passionate about that program than ASU Sun Devil fans are. They're going to pack the Footprint Center. The last game these two teams played against each other, 2021, it was at ASU. It was during winter break, so all the ASU students were gone. GCU brought in their students in full force. They outnumbered ASU student section. They had a much worse team at that time, and they almost won that game. They ended up losing, I believe, by 5.
Yeah, the Havoc, that's the student section there for GCU. They travel, and they are loud. And to the point where GCU has had the opportunity now to play other big programs in the country, and those schools go to GCU, and they're like, "This is the loudest building we've ever played in." That's insane when you think about what GCU is and that program and that school compared to other bigger programs. That's wild.
Well, I remember years ago, Rick Pitino, and it might have been back when he was actually the coach of Louisville. They played a game at GCU, and that was like verbatim what he said. He said that was like one of the most difficult college basketball crowds like we've ever had to play, a game in front of.
It's they are loud, and they, when it comes to a neutral site game, my fear for ASU is that they're not going to have enough fans show up. Like that, they may bring a lot of fans. They won't bring as many passionate fans as GCU has, and that's just a fact.
This is going to be the year. I mean, GCU has never been in a better position to win that game against ASU. They want it more. They've got the right group of guys in that program to get the job done. They're catching ASU in a year where ASU's brought in these younger guys. They're kind of trying to rebuild. They've still got some senior holdovers, but it's just not going to be enough to counter what GCU brings to the table.
It's a different game if they play in December next week. But from what we saw from ASU, like they still have some more tinkering to do. So we'll get to that, wrap that up on the other side, and then we'll get to some NBA talk tonight because, boy, we've got a loaded schedule of games, and we want to make sure we have enough time to get through all of those. So you're listening to Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Direct savings and client focus, the cornerstones of the Diamond Dave philosophy.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave Cantor. My team and I at Desert Wholesale Diamond can be your trusted friends with an inside scoop on the diamond world.
Just like they are to thousands of people around the world.
And just like we have been for over 34 years.
At Diamond Dave's, it's all about the diamonds and the savings, not paying for high-end retail locations or the overhead of a mall.
You stand to save big time with our by appointment professional office approach combined with direct importing.
When you choose Diamond Dave's, you choose huge savings, top quality, and excellent service. Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text FORCE to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text FORCE to 42424. That's FORCE to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
We are getting ready to crown a champion.
Championship weekend is coming back to the desert.
Let's get this party started.
4 title races in 3 days means there will be a buzz in the air all weekend long. Whether from the grandstands, the infield experience, or the hillside, this is your chance to witness history and make championship caliber memories for the whole family. NASCAR Championship Weekend at Phoenix Raceway, November 8th through the 10th. Get your tickets now at phoenixraceway.com. 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
We are back. It's Beat the Book Wednesday. The NBA, after an election day, they've been taking those off. That's just an initiative they've got going on to encourage people to vote by not distracting them with basketball. The NBA's back tonight. Warriors, Celtics. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about Raptors, the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Cavs. And the Grizzlies taking on the very, very injured Los Angeles Lakers. So let's start at the top.
Yeah, I think we need to kind of properly set the stage right now for this Warriors and Celtics game. I mean, on the surface, these are two of the top 5 teams in the NBA right now, just based on overall record. Warriors are 6-1. The Celtics are 7-1. So, that makes it a bit compelling right there. But let's go back in time a little bit. Just a couple of years ago, 2022, these two teams played each other in the NBA Finals. The Warriors did manage to win that series. That was the last time they won a NBA championship. And then, obviously, since then, the Celtics are the reigning champs. They did win it last year. Warriors have hit a little bit of a rough patch as a franchise since winning that championship. You had the whole incident between Jordan Poole and Draymond Green. That was a PR nightmare for them. Jordan Poole gets sent off to Washington. Draymond's got his troubles with, controlling himself and technical fouls and choking out Rudy Gobert and Yusuf Nurkic and, all sorts of shenanigans. But then we had the Olympics over the summer. And normally that really wouldn't play into this. But
we got a little politics going on here.
I mean,
basketball politics.
If you remember, going back to July and August, Steve Kerr, who's the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, he was also the head coach for USA Basketball. And this was a pretty deep USA Basketball roster that they had. Kerr, did his best to try and feature as many players as he could in any given game. But when you've got, I think they had 14 players on that roster or 15, I mean, someone is going to get the short end of the stick.
Yeah. I mean, it was one thing that I pointed out during that run when people were complaining about Tatum not getting playing time was like that happened on the Dream Team too. If you look at the minutes that John Stockton had per game in that Olympic run, he barely played. You just couldn't play him there when you had Magic. You know what I mean? Like there's somebody great, a Hall of Famer is just not going to play because that's just math. You can't play everybody.
So I think it was the first game against Nikola Jokic and Serbia in the pool play. That was like the first time where Tatum just flat out got like a DNP. Like did not play.
Did not play. Yep.
And I mean, like for one time for that to happen, a little bit of outrage, nothing too crazy. It was kind of like, okay, fine. And then they played like South Sudan after that, and then there was like another DNP.
Yeah. And then, granted, that South Sudan game was also close,
very close,
which is going to tie into our point later.
So, now there's some steam kind of picking up and, everyone's like, oh, Kerr doesn't like Tatum, going back to the NBA Finals, they're rivals, he's got it out for him. Clearly this is something that is not part of the game plan and strategy because Jason Tatum's such a great player. Like there's no way that you could put your best effort without him being on the court. And I mean, this got to the point where they would point blank ask Steve Kerr, like, what's going on? And Kerr's like, I've got like 15 guys to play. I mean, like
there's somebody who's not playing. And the NBA, I don't know if people have noticed, you should have by now, is full of great small forwards. There's just, the league has more of great players, I think, at that position than any other position in the entire league. Tatum plays that position and that team was already loaded with them.
So, on Team USA, the guys that Steve Kerr was going with, I mean, we're talking LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards. I mean, this is like the cream of the crop. And Jason Tatum in his own right
he's up there.
He's absolutely up there. I'm not saying he's not among that caliber, but we're winning games. We didn't lose a single game for Team USA. Until we lose a game, it's kind of hard to criticize what Kerr is doing because all he did was go there and get the job done. I mean, we came back with gold medals.
Yeah, that's the goal every time. And that's what happened. So like, what are you going to say to him?
So, I mean, the sentiment out of Boston during this time, I mean, they were going crazy over this, crazy anger. I mean, you had guys like Dave Portnoy making videos, kind of threatening Steve Kerr and cursing him. And I mean, it got to the point where the owner of the Celtics, Wyc Grousbeck, he got on a podcast and started just criticizing Kerr, criticizing the game plan, really trying to imply that there was something else going on. And everyone started circling this game on their calendars way back when. So now the day has finally come. The Warriors travel to Boston. The Boston home crowd gets to exact their revenge on the
yeah.
Warriors.
On the text line, the moist one says Steve Kerr is going to get a heavy booing. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
A Boston welcome, if you will.
A very nice Boston welcome. And I have to imagine this crowd in particular is going to want to see Jason Tatum do pretty well this game. Probably score a lot of points, make a lot of buckets.
I think Tatum's going to try to be up for that challenge. This is one of those games that just comes across as a revenge game. And there's almost no on the court reason for this to be a revenge game. This is all off the court stuff. And that's what I think makes this very compelling.
So this is one of my top things on TV that I'll be watching tonight. Something that was kind of interesting to see too, just doing a little bit of research on this. The Golden State Warriors have not won a game in Boston since 2022 when they won that NBA Finals. Granted, they don't get many chances to go play over there. There's only one game there per season. But in the last 2 years, since they have traveled to back to Boston to play those games, they have not won. So the Celtics come into this matchup as a 6-point favorite. And when you look at the teams that the Warriors have beat so far this season, it's not that impressive right now. No. And it's very easy to get caught up in, Kerr's figured it out again. They've got a new system. There's 12 guys. They're all 3-and-D. They can switch on defense. They're shooting the lights out. Steph Curry's, he's going to make another run. And then you actually look at these wins and it's like New Orleans, Portland, Utah, Washington. I mean, there isn't anyone that's really that impressive that they've had to play. So this is the beginning of a bit of a gauntlet for the Warriors here, because they've got some more difficult games down the road after this. They have a game against Cleveland. They've got a game against the Mavs. So now they're going to start to get tested here. And in this particular game, I really just believe in the context and the kind of sentiment and everything that's played out over the summer with the Olympics and how that's going to motivate the crowd, how that's going to motivate the Celtics. I am expecting the Celtics to cover that spread. We've been getting some really insane team shooting performances from these guys right now. They're coming off a game where they made 18 3-pointers as a team. And they take a lot of 3-pointers as a team as well. The Warriors do too. But if I have to bet on whose shots are going to fall tonight, it's probably going to be for the home team with the supportive crowd behind them instead of, the team trying to shoot against the really hostile Bostonians that, are going to be there tonight rooting against the Warriors. Keon, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I see this one being a really interesting game because we're talking about a team in Golden State that I think they feel like they've got a lot to play for. When you hear these guys, it speaks to the culture in that building. They feel like they can beat anybody. That the way they talk to the media, how relaxed they feel. Guys down the bench are talking like, I am part of something that can beat anybody. But I feel like Jason Tatum might have something to say about that. By the way, no Jaylen Brown tonight. Worth mentioning. I think he's ruled out for tonight. So this is going to be Tatum. This is not going to be the Jaylen Brown deferral game where Tatum might have the chance to give the ball up at the last moment. This is going to be a Jason Tatum statement game. And I just think that he wants to show everybody that, because the knock against Tatum in the Olympics, if you rewind the tape, was he's not a dog. The guys that you are looking at, Durant, LeBron, they want the ball in their hands when the game is on the line. And Tatum notoriously has said to the media, it's not that important to him. He doesn't care who takes the last shot. And I think that Steve Kerr leans towards the guy that is just, look, he's just got that fire. That's why, you'll go to a guy like Anthony Edwards. He doesn't have, the experience and the clout of a guy like a Jason Tatum yet, but Anthony Edwards is a dog. That's what you would describe him as. So when you're looking at Tatum, he gets to be the guy tonight on a team that's going to score a lot. They're going to shoot the basketball incredibly well. There may be an opportunity to bury the Warriors early. Yeah, I'm going to take Boston in this one.
Another name to keep an eye on with Jaylen Brown missing this matchup, Peyton Pritchard on the Boston Celtics. Peyton Pritchard is in his 5th season right now in the NBA, really starting to come into his own. He's always been a very talented shooter. But when he's thrusted into this position where he's got to pick up some of the slack on the offense, because now you're missing a roughly 20 point per game scorer in Jaylen Brown. Peyton Pritchard, he answers the call. You look at his last 5 games, and in 4 of those games, he's had 16 or more points. Just had 18 on Monday against Atlanta. He had 22 the game before that last Saturday against Charlotte. And in these home games, that is typically where Peyton Pritchard really heats up from the 3-point line. His last home game on October 28th, that was against the Bucks. He had 28 points in 28 minutes. He shot 66% from 3. So I am definitely looking for Peyton Pritchard to have a big shooting game. He's going to get more shots up tonight with Jaylen Brown not there. Jason Tatum, of course, should be leading the charge. And let's also keep in mind, Steph Curry, he's only played 1 game since coming back from that sprained ankle. So that's got to be feeling a bit tender. He did go under on his points in that game against Washington. Is there a chance that we could see some crazy Curry stuff? Of course.
There always is that opportunity. He just takes the Superman cape out and plays. The Warriors have the confidence. They feel like they're it. I just agree with you. I don't think they are. As the great philosopher Cat Williams once said, Chrysler 300 looks like a Phantom until a Phantom pulls up. That's all I'm saying. So we got a lot more NBA to get to. We're going to have to try and hustle through it quickly before the end of the show. And then obviously we're going to get to Suns and Heat tonight and some of the player props that you can take a look at right here on Beat the Book on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. Live and local. It's fall football on The Fanatic. Catch all the live game play-by-play. Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday day and night NFL games. Plus the Saturday NCAA football game of the week. It's all right here on the Valley's home for football. 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. Brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text FORCE to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text FORCE to 42424. That's FORCE to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin. And over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Now open in Scottsdale. It's United Forte Custom Door Showroom with 40,000 Euro doors and hundreds of state-of-the-art designs and finishes on display, plus kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and more, all at wholesale prices. Builders, contractors, designers, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, P-O-R-T-E. Stop by to see and feel the quality. United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's UPORTE.com.
We know how it goes. You can't always tune in and hear your favorite shows and hosts.
Dude, look, I'm a loser.
okay?
It's cool, bro. That's why we post podcasts of your favorite shows and hosts. Listen when you want to. Listen on demand.
That is great and frankly kind of amazing.
Go to 1580thefanatic.com to download.
All right, let's hop to it very quickly, Dylan. We had some other stuff in the NBA that we wanted to get to real quick before we talk some Suns and Heat. What's that?
So first and foremost, check out the Beat the Book website to see the full NBA picks from today. There's also a new episode of the 6 Point Play podcast where there's 6 more picks in that are totally different from what's been posted on the Beat the Book website. You can follow me on Instagram at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. And if you just click the link in my bio, that'll take you right to the Beat the Book page where you can see what today's bets are. There are some teams right now in the NBA that are very injured. And specifically for the games taking place tonight, it is creating unique betting opportunities that I just wanted to kind of go through and shout out. The Raptors are facing the Sacramento Kings, and the Raptors have been injured all season so far. They are still missing Bruce Brown. They are still missing Kelly Olynyk. You have Scotty Barnes, who suffered the orbital fracture against Nikola Jokic when they faced the Nuggets the other week. He's not playing. And then you have Emmanuel Quickley, who's still not playing right now. He's doubtful for this game. So what's happened in the wake of all of these injuries for the Raptors? Well, first and foremost, they're surprisingly competitive. They're 1-3 in this stretch without Scotty Barnes, but their biggest loss was by 6 points to the Lakers. The other thing that's happening is Grady Dick and RJ Barrett. They are scoring all the points for this team right now. They are chronically going over on their line for scoring. Grady Dick in particular, he has been an excellent betting opportunity.
Grady can shoot the lights out, man.
Well, and I mean, he is surging up the rankings right now for most improved just because he's getting all these shots that he normally wouldn't take. I mean, he's getting close to 20 shots up a game. So when you shoot the ball that much, especially if you're making them at a pretty good clip, it's going to lead to, nice output and scoring. So that's what's going on in that game. The Raptors were also a 11.5 point underdog, which, I just said their largest loss in the wake of all these injuries was 6 points. And they're facing the Kings tonight, who they actually beat. That's the one team that they beat over this stretch. So it's the same exact group of guys that are playing that they just played earlier. I think their last game was on Saturday. So why the Raptors are a 11.5 point dog, I think that is way too generous. You can look to take the Raptors on the spread. Moving over to the Pelicans and the Cavs game tonight. The Pelicans are limping into this matchup. They're missing CJ McCollum. They're missing Herb Jones. They're missing DeJounte Murray. Zion Williamson may not play. Jordan Hawkins may not play. So who's been picking up all the slack for the Pelicans? It's Brandon Ingram. You can look to play his points tonight. He has been the beneficiary of just about the rest of the starting lineup all being out. You can also look to play the Cavs on the spread. They're already doing extremely well as a team, and now they've got the Pelicans who are missing so many key players that it's going to be tough for the Pelicans to be competitive tonight. Last one, Grizzlies and Lakers. Grizzlies are another team that has been injured, but they've also been playing above expectations while they've been so short-handed. They are still missing Desmond Bane. They are still missing Marcus Smart. So when you're looking to bet this game, I would recommend Ja Morant and his props. He's been doing very well on assists. He's been scoring the ball a lot better. The Grizzlies have to lean on him more in these times when they don't have their typical starting five available. So wanted to run through all of those. There are picks about those games on the Beat the Book site. There's also some stuff on 6 Point Play podcast. So make sure you check that stuff out.
So there you have it. And now we get to turn our attention to the Phoenix Suns. They're headed to Miami to take on the Heat.
Oh, no.
They're hosting Miami.
We're staying here.
Okay,
yeah.
my bad. I might have looked at that in the wrong order. They're hosting the Miami Heat, and the Heat have been So the Suns, I think, have been handling their business. They play teams that they're supposed to beat, but as opposed to last year, they're actually beating them. So what are we looking at tonight?
So, first and foremost, I do not see the Suns losing this game.
Me neither.
We're
on the same page there.
Team's just playing very good basketball right now. Suns are a 5.5 point favorite currently on FanDuel. Now, whether or not they're going to cover the spread, I think that's a little bit trickier to say because the last.
What line do you have on that, by the way?
5.5.
Okay, so do I.
Yep. Well, and honestly, I mean, I'm watching it change before my eyes. So
okay, gotcha.
It's volatile right now.
I'm on CBS Sports, and they use BetMGM to put their odds up there. So that's where that's coming from.
So, I mean, most books are going to be in that 5 to 6 neighborhood, somewhere in there. But, when you're looking at who's going to score in this game, Kevin Durant's been consistent. Devin Booker has been a bit more volatile, when it comes to his scoring numbers.
Yeah,
I think
fresh off of a really bad shooting performance for him, where I believe he was 0 of 6 from 3.
Well, and then the game prior to that, I believe that was when he had like 40. So that's where, with Booker.
Devin Booker reminds me of Kyler Murray right now. Little highs and lows, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of middles for Devin Booker so far this season.
Like, if you want to take a swing on a Suns player, like scoring a lot, I mean, like 35 plus, Devin Booker's probably your guy for that. Is Kevin Durant capable of it? Of course. But right now, Kevin Durant's just been a lot more consistent with his scoring output. He's very commonly getting, in the neighborhood 25, 30 points, might get 35 here or there. But, if this is one of those games where it is 2 or 3 possession game in the final, 5-6 minutes of the game, we just saw this play out with the Suns' last matchup. They turned to Kevin Durant. He is the guy in clutch time. And that part is not going to change if that's the way that, this game shapes up. And I do think that there is a chance that the Heat could be a bit competitive in this one. I believe Kevin Love is expected to miss this game. So, that helps us out a little bit there. And then just want to look up on Miami who else, because I want to say that there was another injury there that they had that I saw. Jaime Jaquez, that was it. So Jaime Jaquez is dealing with an illness right now. He's out. So that's another good, young guard forward that Miami's going to be lacking there, and they're going to be forced to play some of their guys off the bench, perhaps a Pele Larson, maybe a Josh Richardson. So, the Royce O'Neals, the Bradley Beals, these are the guys that will benefit when Miami's forced to go a little bit deeper into their bench. And Bradley Beal in particular, do just want to shout something out from him. I mean, we were talking a little bit about him earlier this week in just how, him accepting this role as kind of the third fiddle in the big three is really helping the Suns take another step forward. But when you look at, how Bradley Beal has performed, it's very, very consistent games from him. He hasn't had a single game yet where he's had less than 15 points. And if you look at where his line is tonight for scoring, the last time I looked at this, it was right at 15.5. Yep, and it's still there right now. So, FanDuel, Hard Rock, DraftKings, anyone that lets you take like a little bit more of a conservative line on the scoring, I definitely love Bradley Beal to just keep doing exactly what he's been doing right now. You can take him for 15 or more.
And he seems really settled. I have a quote here from Bradley Beal. He says, I had a better feeling coming into this season of kind of what my role would be, how the team would utilize me, and where I could just see that we had a gaping hole. Last year, they needed somebody to be that consistent third scoring option, to just be the spot up shooter sometimes. And, I think he's starting to settle into that being his role on the team and still have that ability to take over games if it comes to that, if it's required. But he's settling into his role. I think when he was playing under Vogel, he just wasn't clear on what he was supposed to be doing. And with Coach Bud, he's figured it out.
Well, and I think in his case too, there's got to be something that's happening off the court that's keeping him in better condition on the court, because he just had so many like unlucky breaks. I went to the Knicks game last season. That was in December. Bradley Beal hadn't really been able to play yet. It was one of the first times we were going to see the big three, and he was in there for 4 minutes, and then he turned his ankle and was out for the game. And we're not seeing those kinds of things, happen, knock on wood. I mean, hopefully
and maybe part of that is his role, is that he's not attacking the basket and he isn't having to be nearly as aggressive. And we see this happen with guards all the time. We've seen this happen with Chris Paul here in Phoenix, where when you're asking a guard who's a smaller player to be this aggressive person that's going amongst the trees and trying to find a way to get a bucket, you're getting beat up, you're getting knocked down, and that increases your injury risk.
Do just also want to shout out here too on that Beat the Book post with all the bets. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find the long shot parlay of the day. And since we've got into the NBA season now, I do consider that to be my expertise within betting. I've been getting a bit more adventurous with
a little more bold.
Yeah, a little more bold here. So, if you're looking to take a bit of a swing tonight, the long shot parlay pays just south of 200-1 odds. $5 bet on something like that is going to give you a nice little payout there. So just something to consider. That's definitely a good play that I feel pretty strongly about today. So hopefully we're talking pretty well about that one tomorrow. But either way, if you just want to stay within the Suns game, you could look at a guy like Tyus Jones and his assists. We're still seeing how this is going to play out for him more. And I do believe that as the season goes on, he's going to continue to be able to raise his assist average. But even right now, he's averaging about 6.5 assists per game. If you wanted to take him to get 6 or more assists for tonight, that is currently priced at minus 165 odds on FanDuel. That is not a bad prop to look to add if you're trying to build, say, like a same game parlay. If you've got a promo to use for that to try and boost your payout, these are all the kinds of things that you can look to leverage to try and give yourself, better chances to win.
There you have it. We're starting to get to the end of the show. The long shot parlay looks very, very fun. I'll be playing that personally. Let's see. The combined odds plus 18,413. So, $5 bet, potential chance to pay out $920.
And as long as it's under 300-1 odds, you are not going to be, getting a 1099 for that win. So that's
which is very important.
Yes. So there's a lot of thought that goes into these
little tax implications as we're trying to beat the book and not necessarily beat the IRS, but just stay out of their radar. Stay a little bit hidden, a little discreet. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic. We'll see you tomorrow where we'll help you beat the book and save some money.
Direct savings and client focus, the cornerstones of the Diamond Dave philosophy.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave Cantor. My team and I at Desert Wholesale Diamond can be your trusted friends with an inside